Morning, good afternoon, good evening. Today is March 8th, and I wanted to talk to you about a pet peeve of mine that I have that I was working on this week. That it has to do with measuring the utilization of the system by users. And what I mean by that, basically counting how much users are using the system, right? I how can I say this? I don't think I know a very easy or straightforward way to find that out. Um, doesn't mean that it doesn't exist. And by the way, if you happen to be watching this and you know a quick way to see how many people are using the system across the various modules, please let me know because I think it'll be really helpful, and I'll explain why in a few minutes. Now, I I am aware though of in the new generation of Admin Center, right, that you have those nice dashboards that tell you how many people are logging in into the system, from where, which pages they're visiting, and I think that's perfect and it does the job, but it's limited to only 30 days, right? The past 30 days, or at least that's my understanding, which can be problematic because unless you're tracking the trends, it's hard to really come up with the whole idea. And here's the thing, right? Why is this relevant? Why I'm even talking about this is that many times I get asked by leaders, right? These are decision makers who need some help figuring it out, how much are we using the system, right? Because everyone knows which modules they're running, right? Everyone knows sort of like the scope of the population that should be using those modules, but then it's hard to really go beyond that, right? So for example, and this becomes very much relevant for decentralized organizations, right? I had the opportunity to work or collaborate with several very decentralized organizations, not just from a business unit, divisional perspective, if you will, but geographically too, right? In such a way that one company or one region might be fairly autonomous, so they might or might not decide to use the system, right? In a previous life, I was working with the public sector too, and same thing. There were some departments that wanted to use the system, others that didn't, and leadership wasn't going to enforce it. So at the time of negotiating licenses, right, or renewal, or trying to figure out what the heck they want to do in the future, right? They need to have this information, how much people are using it. That's the first thing that they ask, right? And again, it's very different understanding the scope and what people should be using versus what not. So, and to give you an actual, more tangible example, if you will, right? Like employee profile, people profile. Let's pretend that company does not run Employee Central, right? And it's trying to figure out, well, I guess that is part of or basic, right, or platform. But what if I don't know, I'm trying to figure out whether I want to buy the succession module or not, right? And I'm trying to figure out, I know I'm going to buy it, but I'm trying to figure out which scope of the population. And if I know that people are actually going in and using the system, right, I might actually buy more licenses, right, versus just taking a pilot point of view initially. And just like that, literally dozens and dozens of different questions that might come about in which this information could be useful. But the point is that, again, there's not an easy way to figure that out, right? Like you can do, and what I've done in the past is just running a bunch of reports. In this case, for people profile, right? Run reports for pretty much every blog, every portlet, and then see how much data is there, right? Or different metrics, right? In recruiting, how many open recs we have. In onboarding, how many people are being onboarded. Performance, right? How many forms I'm launching, and people are actually doing something, right? Because believe it or not, there are many companies in which they have a program, but they don't truly enforce it. And so, it's an interesting balance, right? Development. Okay, have a bunch of development plans for everyone, but are people tracking their goals? So anyways, my point with this video is first of all, I wanted to get it out, a little bit of frustration, right? Because it is, for lack of a better word, a shame that there's not a better way to assess true utilization of the system beyond the 30 days. Which, by the way, just that doesn't tell the full picture because you can visit a page, but doesn't mean that you're doing anything with it. Yes, and by the way, this doesn't even have to be client facing, right? There was a quick way, in, like say, provisioning or somewhere, or even like an API you could call to get some of this information. I think it will be so useful. So I think it could be very impactful, right, at the time of negotiating licenses, right? And always very positive too, right? So it might be worthwhile an investment on that from an R&D perspective. But what do I know? I mean, I don't know. I'm just talking about it. But the reason I brought it up today is because recently I've had a number of people, right, reaching out, asking me, hey, do you know a good way to do this? And my answer, other than, those dashboards, right, in the new generation admin center, just running reports, kind of making sense of some of the metrics that you want, to be able to tell the story, but like a quick and dirty way to get some of those numbers. Not that I'm aware of. So if you happen to know a better way to do this, or if you or if you know a solution for this, right, a better solution than just running reports, I would love for you to send me an email, and then we can connect. And I want to be in debt. And for all the debts, I'm gonna pay all my debts in Success Connect this year in Vegas. So bunch of breakfasts, bunch of lunches, bunch of dinners. All right. So that's what I have for today. See you next. Oh no, I'll see you.